Greetings and welcome back. How's everybody doing? My name is Johnny the Greek. This is the Week 4 Monday Night Football betting preview show presented by Statement Games. Statement Games is an innovative sports gaming and database marketing platform. You can join a contest and then make individual prop bets, rank them with confidence points at the end, and put your 10 best picks up against everyone else's for a chance to win prizes. At Statement Games, all one word on Twitter to follow them. Or you can request a demo at marketing@statementgames.com. Alrighty, so we've got a double header this week. We've got one good game and one crappy game, but that's all right. We got plenty of options bet wise, that's for sure. Before we get into it, though, just a reminder: set a limit and stick to it. For help with problem gambling, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. Yeah, and after a really nice week 2, we were back to a crappy week 3, going 0-3 after a wild Monday Night Football game last week. So, yeah, we're gonna make some adjustments going forward and focus more on previewing the game itself and the trends that we're gonna be able to exploit. Yeah, because 'cause I'm doing this on Thursday, and it's hard to even find lines for Monday night games right now, so that'll be the focus going forward. With that being said, let's have a look. We got a double header for week 4 Monday Night Football this week. The first of the two games is the New York Jets at Miami. Miami is favored by 2.5 points at home. The early total for this game is over or under 44.5 points. The Jets are at plus 125 for the money line, and Miami is at minus 145. Recent trends in history between these two matching up, and just in general, betting wise. So the over is 8-2 in the Jets' last 10 games. The Jets are 0-9 straight up in their last 9 games against Miami. The Dolphins are 10-4 against the spread in their last 14 games. And the over is 7-0 for Miami's last 7 home games. When it comes to the rankings and what we've seen from these two teams so far this season, the Jets are the second worst passing attack in the league for yards per game. They are the 10th best rushing attack in the league, though, right now at 127 yards per game on the ground each week. And they are in the middle of the pack at points per game offensively at 23 points per game. Defensively, New York is among the middle of the pack for passing yards allowed per game at 207 each week. Same for rushing yards allowed per game at 133 rushing yards allowed each week. The Jets have a -4 turnover differential, and they are the 24th overall team for offensive time of possession. Miami is among the middle of the pack for passing offense at 192 yards per game through the air. They're 26th overall for rushing offense at just 89 yards per game on the ground, and they are among the middle of the pack for points per game, also around 23 points per game. Defensively, Miami is hot garbage, is the short version, but they are within the middle of the pack for passing yards allowed at 225 each week allowed through the air. They are the excuse me, the 28th overall rushing defense, also known as fourth worst. They allow 145 yards per game on the ground each week. Miami is also dead last in points per game allowed defensively, allowing 32.3 points per game so far. They have a negative turnover differential at -5, and they are the worst team in the league for time of possession offensively. So yeah, there's definitely some stuff that makes sense to target. When we get some lines and can actually make some bets with that Miami defense, and with those trends in mind for the Miami defense. Injury wise, Justin Fields is questionable. Jarvis Brownley was just traded to the Jets. He's probably not going to play. We see that all the time. Guys usually don't play their first week after being traded to a new team. And he was questionable to begin with before that and was inactive last week. So he's probably really not playing this week. Also, Sauce Gardner and Tony Adams for the secondary for the Jets are also questionable. On the Miami side of things for injuries, Darren Waller is just a rumor at this point. He remains questionable, and I'd be shocked if he played this week. And their secondary in Miami is absolutely shredded with injury, including Storm Duck, who we haven't seen since week 1, who is still questionable this week, and Ifeadi Melanwafu, who is also questionable, and Jason Marshall, who is also questionable. And they weren't all that good to begin with. So, with all this in mind, these are the trends and weaknesses that I would target and try and craft some bets around for this game. when we have some lines to craft bets for this game. So Garrett Wilson, definitely, I would do something around Garrett Wilson. He's had 30 targets through 3 games so far this season, and is up against just a shredded Miami secondary that is average at best when it comes to yards per game allowed through the air at 225 each week. So yeah, Garrett Wilson overs on receptions, overs on yards, maybe an anytime touchdown. All that makes sense. When we get to Monday. And then Breece Hall also, I think, makes a ton of sense this week. So the Miami rushing defense is the fifth worst in the league. They allow 145 yards per game on the ground. New York is also the 10th best rushing attack so far this season. They have the better time of possession ranking. So yeah, over on yards for Breece Hall or an anytime touchdown. I think either of those would make a ton of sense this week. And then the last one that kind of stuck out to me was Jets overs on team points against the worst points per game defense in the league with Miami right now. They're allowing 32.3 points per game each week. Miami is also the worst time of possession team in the league at just 25 minutes offensive time of possession per game. So New York should have plenty of opportunity to possess the ball and score points, and they're up against one of the worst defenses in the league right now. So I think that makes a bunch of sense as well. So those are the things that kind of stuck out for the first Monday Night Football game this week. We do have the doubleheader, so let's have a look at the next one here. We've got the Bengals going to Denver to play the Broncos. Denver is favored by 7.5 points at home. The early total is 44.5 points for the over under. Denver is minus 400 for the money line, while Cincinnati is plus 300. So Vegas is pretty sure that Denver is going to win this game. Recent trends between these two teams include the over is 9-4 in the Bengals' last 13 games. The Bengals are 5-2 against the spread in their last 7 games against the Broncos, but that was a lot of that was with Joe Burrow, I'm assuming. So that ship has sailed. The Bengals are 5-0 against the spread in their last 5 games played in Denver, but once again, that was most of that was with Joe Burrow, I'm guessing. And the Broncos are 1-6 against the spread in their last 7 games. When it comes to how these two offenses and defenses look at the moment, Cincinnati, shockingly, is the sixth worst passing attack in the league right now, which is insane, even with Browning under center. We've seen him put up, yards and points before, no doubt. So, kind of wild how bad they did last week, but we'll see what happens this week. Cincinnati is the sixth worst passing attack right now. They're only at 171 yards per game through the air, and they are the worst team in the league for rushing offense at just 49 yards per game on the ground. That's not great. They score just 19 points per game, which is within the worst third of the league. They have a negative turnover differential at -4, and they are the third worst time of possession team in the league as well. So not a lot of good there since for Cincinnati offensively. Defensively for the Bengals, they're the ninth worst pass defense. They allow 240 yards per game through the air. They're within the middle of the pack for rushing defense. They allow 119 yards per game on the ground each week. They are the seventh worst defense for points per game allowed at 30.3 per game to this point in the season. So yeah, not very strong for either unit for Cincinnati right now. And then for Denver, offensively, they're within the worst third of the league for passing yards per game at just 173 yards per game through the air. They are the eighth best rushing attack, though. They have 129 yards per game on the ground each week, and they are within the middle of the pack for points per game offensively, scoring 22.7 points per game each week. They do have a negative turnover differential as well, but it's just -1, so not nearly as bad as what Cincinnati's got going on. And they're the 25th overall team for time of possession. So defensively for Denver, they're within the middle of the pack for passing yards allowed. They allow 212 yards per game through the air. Also, middle of the pack for rushing yards allowed at 114 yards per game on the ground each week. And they allow 21.3 points per game, which is also middle of the pack. Injury wise, so Cincinnati, Cam Taylor-Britt and Shamar Stewart are questionable. Cam Taylor-Britt was inactive last week, so good chance we may not see him again. And then obviously Joe Burrow is gone, so that changes everything for Cincinnati. Denver really just has Evan Ingram, who's questionable, but they're looking pretty good otherwise. Excuse me. So, with all this in mind, I think a few things that kind of stick out here are Chase Brown unders on yardage. I think that makes a ton of sense here as the Bengals' rushing attack is dead last overall right now, just 49 yards per game on the ground, and is up against a pretty good Denver rushing defense who is at home favored by more than a touchdown and has the better time of possession ranking as well. Um, yeah, none of that looks good. And if they get behind, they're going to have to abandon the run and try and pass their way back into it anyway, which is a strong possibility. So I think we're in for a bad day for Chase Brown. So his unders make sense from my point of view. And then the over for Denver team points, I think makes sense as well, since they're up against the seventh worst overall defense for points per game allowed each week, giving up 30.3 points per game. J.K. Dobbins over on his rushing yards, I think makes sense also. Going up against the Cincinnati rushing defense that's average at best and allows 119 yards per game on the ground, especially when we factor in how good this Denver rushing offense is to begin with. They're eighth overall. And once again, they're at home. They're favored by a touchdown plus, and they have the better time of possession ranking and the better turnover differential. So yeah, I think those are the things that kind of stand out to me earlier. Stand out at the moment rather. And yeah, I could go to betting pros and try and find what these lines are going to be Thursday. 3 4 days before the game, but they're going to change. And you know, I think it's just a better idea to talk about the trends and the things that stick out, and things that could help you craft these bets when we do get to Monday Night Football. So that will be the approach going forward. Anyway, that's all I got. Thank you guys for watching and listening. We'll be back next week, same time, same place. Please subscribe to the IDP Plus YouTube channel for great IDP football fantasy news and content. And make sure you're following Statement Games on Twitter. That's at Statement Games, all one word, for updates on the product. Good luck in week 4, and I'll catch you guys for week 5. Take care.